What is the most FU moment in history? When the Nazis invaded France, the lift cables on the Eiffel Tower were cut so Hitler would have to take the stairs. Petty but amazing. The Winter War. When the Soviet Union invaded Finland expecting it to be a walkover. The Finns captured entire divisions with small amounts of men, had no tanks or air force and inflicted massive losses on the Russians. The most effective sniper of all time, the White Death, was fighting for the Finns, and there are loads of stories of Russian soldiers waking up and finding their fellow comrades frozen solid with their throats cut. The Russians eventually overran the Finns but were internationally humiliated and had to settle with taking some slithers of land from the border as opposed to occupying the country. Arlington National Cemetery was Robert E. Lee's front yard. During the American Civil War, when it became difficult to bury Union dead in appropriate cemeteries, the quartermaster directed them to be buried in Robert E. Lee's front yard, so that for the rest of his life, he would be reminded of the damage he caused the country every day simply by coming and going from his home. And that, boys and girls, is the reason Arlington Cemetery became what it is. In an added twist, Arlington House and Plantation were owned and built by George Washington's adopted son, George Washington Custis, whose daughter Mary married Robert E. Lee, at the time a U.S. Army officer. Their son George Washington Custis Lee served in the Confederate Army. The Lees sued the feds for illegally seizing their property, and years later, after Robert and Mary's deaths, they won the suit in the U.S. Supreme Court. Their heir, Robert E. Lee Jr., knowing the impossibility of moving the thousands buried there, offered to sell it to the U.S. federal government, who agreed to purchase it, setting the stage for a remarkable occasion, where then Secretary of War, Robert Todd Lincoln, yes Abe and Mary's boy, handed Robert E. Lee Jr. a check for approximate $150,000 and purchased the plantation. Operation Paul Bunyan. Basically, the United States tried to trim a tree in the Korean demilitarized zone that was supposedly planted by the Supreme Leader or something. While trimming the tree, NK reacted and killed 2 soldiers. 3 days later, a joint operation launched where South Korea and the US shows up with extreme force while the North Koreans get to watch the sacred tree nearly entirely cut down. A governor put a bounty of $500 on the pirate Jean Lafitte. The pirate's response was to put a $5,000 bounty on the governor's head. The reply of the Zaporozhian Cossacks. They defeat the Ottoman Sultan's army, but he sends them a message demanding their surrender, using a long and ridiculous title. They sent back a reply mocking his titles, and telling him, literally, "F your mother and kiss our ass." The Declaration of Independence was a FU letter to the United Kingdom. During the Cold War, the leader of Yugoslavia, Tito, was getting aid from the East and the West. Stalin didn't like that, so he sent an assassin. He was stopped, so Stalin sent another assassin, and that one was stopped, so after a while Tito got annoyed by all the assassins, so he sent a letter to Stalin saying, "Stop sending people to kill me. If you do not stop sending killers, I will send one to Moscow and I won't have to send a second." I know more, but that's just off the top of my head. Trump 2016. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more.